Good morning. Jim Feig, your master photographer, coming to you from South Bridge Street Live. I'm bringing you some more of these beautiful photographs that Richard Korchinski from Korchinski's Photos and Cozy Circle print up for me. And as you can see this morning, I have up there a beautiful misty morning day. That's the day I was greeted with the other day, and I talk about it when I talk about attitudes. But what I want to do this morning is talk to you about photographing sunrises and sunsets. How do you get started with photographing your sunrises and sunsets? Well, let's set some preliminaries up. Plan ahead. Scout your locations. I've got several places in mind back in the back of my head. One of them is the bell tower over on Our Lady of Sorrows Church on Water Street, and one of them was some spots along the Coletto Creek, and one of them is the courthouse downtown. Places where I would like to be when a sunrise or a sunset is about to be present. And if I'm close to that, when I see a nice sunrise or sunset starting, I will rush over there and get ready. Start your photos with a plan. Scout out locations. Find some locations where you would like to take a beautiful sunrise or a beautiful sunset. Know where the sun is going to come up, know where it's going to set. Watch the skies. When you see a sunrise or a sunset forming, get your camera ready and be out there at the peak moment. So do a little planning ahead. Then when you get out there, don't be afraid to take different shots. Plan these in your mind too. What exposures do you want to take? With these sunrises and sunsets, get some exposures that are underexposed. They'll make the colors more vivid, more brilliant. But don't forget to take the proper exposure too, and maybe an overexposure just to see what a little high key image might look like. As you plan your shots, think about the different compositions you might work in. Move around. Plan to move around and look at different angles and shoot at different points. Use different focal lengths. Shoot some fairly wide angled. Shoot some with a telephoto. Just concentrate on the sun and the clouds around it. So as you plan and put together your sunset, think of how you're going to vary the shots. Okay, your sunsets and sunrises can be very different. This one here that we see on the wall is soft and subtle and muted in colors, pastel. Let's change our photo. What do we see here? There's a vivid, bold colored clouds. It actually look like they're fighting among one another. Beautiful sunset here with the colors and everything. So you'll have some that are soft and misty, others that are vivid and full of action. As you go along, have your equipment ready. When you get ready to shoot a sunset, I usually shoot an aperture priority, about an f8 or an f11 with if I've got a tripod handy, I'll kick my ISO as low as possible to get the best quality. If I'm hand holding, I might let the ISO go up a bit, but I usually keep it somewhere about 800 or below. When you're taking a sunset photo, get the white balance setting off of automatic. The camera likes to make skies gray and blue, not red and orange and yellow. So get the white balance off automatic. To get the brightest, the most vivid color, set it to shady. That will really brighten your colors up. focus point, if you're shooting the sun off in the distance, you should be focusing for the background. If you've got something in front in silhouette, you might want to focus on that. It's up to you as a photographer. If you're going to be shooting at low shutter speeds, and that happens sometimes if you're using an f8 or an f11 with an ISO of 100 or 200, you'll want a tripod or some other support. Have that equipment ready when you're getting ready to shoot your sunset or your sunrise. Okay, we're changing photos now. Look at this. There's I like to have a subject of some type in the foreground of my sunsets. And here we have a tree off to the side of the sun. It becomes a center of interest, and it adds to the photo. I like to have some kind of center of interest as a silhouette in front of my sunsets. It adds interest to the picture. So you'll frequently find I have something like this tree, or if we look at this next photo, something like the power lines. Here we have the power lines with the sun off to the side. Notice how I've included the power lines using the rule of thirds. I don't have the power lines centered. I don't have the sun centered. They're off to the side. I've got the horizon down to the lower third, or about round at the lower third of the picture, mostly sky. Keep your horizons low on sunsets and sunrises, unless you've got some reflecting water or something in front. Notice the framing and balance here. I've got the power lines off to one side, and they're balanced by the sun off to the other side. So do some framing and balance in your photos. And the leading line, look how those wires lead your eye into the subject itself, the silhouettes. Take advantage of leading lines when you can. Work with the rules of composition, in other words. Make your pictures better by following the rules of composition. Okay, now when you're photographing sunsets, let's look at this next photo, the clouds with the sun rays bursting out of the sky. You have to have patience when you're photographing sunrises and sunsets. Sometimes the best photo is behind you, where the sun is really brightening up the clouds on the opposite side of the sunrise or sunset. So don't just look at the sun. Look around you. Watch what is happening around you. Be ready for anything. This photograph that you see here with the clouds and the rays of sun. I'd just gotten out of a meeting. I was walking out of the building and I saw that sky just like that. Now, I had a camera with me, but it was in my truck across the parking lot, and I knew if I went there and came back here again, why those sun rays would be gone. So I pulled out my cell phone and I took this picture with my cell phone. So be ready for anything. Always have some kind of camera with you, even if it's only the cell phone. And have patience. Sunrises and sunsets are insidious. You'll sit there and you'll watch them change, and they'll change a little bit, and they'll change a little bit more. And take plenty of pictures, because you don't know when you're going to have the peak with some of these. Take plenty of pictures, but as they change and change and change, you sort of wear down, and you say, well, I've got the shots for the day, and you pack your equipment up, and just then everything pops out, and you get the most beautiful sunrise or sunset you've ever seen. So be patient. Wait for the sun to get either down below the horizon or well up in the sky. Don't pack up too early. Don't call it quits too early. Now, if you can include water, if you can include water in your picture, you can get some nice reflection sometime. Look at the picture of the boat on the lake here as our next picture. This is, it's sort of a dark sunset. The clouds were heavy this day, but you're getting reflections off the water from the setting sun, and it adds nicely, especially if as I've done here, you include a center of interest like the boat right in that path of reflected sun. Gives you a nice photograph. Even though the clouds are not brilliant in orange and yellow, it's a good sunset shot. Okay, let's wrap things up. Sunsets and sunrises are always an interesting subject. You can work many different variations on this theme. I've got a tremendous number of sunrise and sunset photos. I've got some I've blown up to enlargements. I've got some I use a sunrise behind a windmill on my business card even. So take advantage of this beautiful opportunity. It's interesting, and my advice to you is go out and shoot and shoot and shoot and get as many sunrises and sunsets as you can. Okay, what I want you to do is, as I said, go out and photograph some sunsets. They're beautiful. In fact, I've got a little poem here that tells you what I think about sunsets. And this is one I wrote, this is back in the 1960s when I wrote this. I was interning out in western Maryland when they had these beautiful mountains, and the beautiful evening sun would slip right down behind the mountain and really paint those clouds beautifully. So let me read this. It says, "Come out with me and watch the setting sun. Oh, it's slipping down behind the mountain now and painting all the world with lovely hues of gold and crimson, amethyst and blue. Come out with me and watch this lovely show, a show that's really made for kings and such, and not for common folk like us. But God does not discriminate like man. You know, he could have made the world just black and white or light and dark, and we would never know the beautiful creations in his power. Well, I think God smiles each time the sun goes down. If such a lovely thing were made by me, I know that each time I saw it, I would smile and hope that somewhere someone smiled too, because they saw a lovely sunset sky and felt a spark of joy within their heart. How many sunsets have you thanked him for? Not many, I would think it's safe to say. But there's the stars, nice first star up in the sky, and that means our show is over for today. Jim Feig coming from South Bridge Street Live. I'll see you next time.